multiple times. Ethan's pulled up the Houthi flag multiple times on his channel, and so once again he's had it way more than Hassan has. And then the Karen moment of saying how little effort goes into effing over a 2 million follower account. So he's like, do you know how big my account is, and you're going to restrict me? My account has over 2 million followers. Like, I just can picture Ethan getting pulled over drunk. He's stumbling out of his car. He's like, do you know how many subscribers I have? Like, that's a mental image I get of Ethan right now. So he's like literally still posting it. We removed your story. Why this happened? The story may contain symbols, glorification, or support of people and organizations we define as dangerous. And then he writes, let's remember the lovely calling of the Houthi flag. Damn, Ethan is so unhinged. Dude, I just know he's like on the toilet at like 1 a.m. like angrily posting the Houthi flag and be like, remember when Hassan played a Houthi propaganda music video? Thanks guys, silencing a Jewish person condemning a Nazi. Good job. Myron is currently banned on Twitch. I don't know why he doesn't mention that. Oh yeah, this is in Hassan Piker's chat. Yeah, he's banned on Twitch. Also, he doesn't mention that Diddy G, his content, so I guess that's Disney, said that he respected Myron more than any other human he knew. Doesn't fit his narrative. Yeah, Jesus Christ. Like, why does he have a hate boner for Myron Gaines at like 1 in the morning? Let's take a look at what Ethan's community is talking about this. Oh, but that one person on the other post who said we were crazy for thinking Ethan's account was shadow banned. What did they have to say now?
شفت شوي عن هذا الرجال، أظن ما أدري من هو تخيل محتواك زفت لدرجة تستخدم اسمي وتاخذ 17,000 مشاهدة.
Do not worry. Lebanon finally has a president after 2 years, and Ethan Klein called me a rat on the latest episode of H3H3. Fires are ravaging Los Angeles while Lonerbox challenges me to a Palestine versus Israel debate. Will I take the bait? That and more on tonight's episode of Do Not Worry. How's it going, folks? I'm your host, Anthony, coming to you from the heart of Lebanon, joined by Noor, the crew member. How's it going, Noor?
All's good.
You get ready to talk about more Ethan Klein? Excited?
Very excited.
We good to go? Apparently we're rats, or maybe I'm a rat, supposedly. How's it going, everybody? Good to have you guys here. It's a dramatic week here on the podcast. First, before we get going, folks, let me just take a second to thank some brand new patrons who have joined our Patreon family. Abductee patrons Fupa Chupa, Rizala Safi, Cheap Cacti, and Joseph Shada has joined our Patreon because last week we told you guys that we were going to talk about the Joseph Shada documentary on our Patreon as a Patreon bonus. He apparently he's paying me $5 to find out what we said about his documentary. I'm sorry, Joseph. But I encourage everyone to watch Joseph Shada's documentary, The Dahya Santa, and a brand new blonde patron, Alice Akerland. Welcome, Alice. If you guys would like to support us on Patreon, it is the best way to support a small independent Lebanese channel like ours. So check out our Patreon link. Find a tier that's right for you. We appreciate your support. It's the only way to keep the show going. And let me take a second to thank some other amazing patrons, blonde patrons like Ahmad M, Maher Sayes, Tito Khouri on drums, Lucy Mafousi, and Fergus Grant. Superhero patrons like Rassan Hamoud, Rana F, Celine H, and Jessica Ann. And our got your patrons, Rifat Fakih, Elia Al-Mujaber, Jack Sleeman, Dominic Seltzer, Tamara Isa, and Daniel Nakhle. We love you guys. Thank you so much for the support. Folks, the podcast is officially 4 years old. The first episode came out on January 14th of 2021. We are now 159 with this episode's deep. We've been doing this for 4 years. I've been doing it almost for 1 year alone, and then the interns joined about 3 years ago at this point. It's been, you guys have been here for...
It's been 3 years.
You've been here for a long time. So thank you for being with us for so long. To all the new subscribers, welcome. I know things have been a little bit weird and different over the last few months, but did you think we would make it to 4 years, 159 episodes?
I always had hope.
Really?
Yeah, I know you always didn't, and I always pushed that, yeah, we can keep going.
Yeah, I now think we can make it to 200. When we made it to 100, I'm like, we're never going to make it to 200, so nobody hoped for that. But at this point, I'm like, we're only 40 episodes away from 200, so it's pretty doable. Yeah, I mean, I'm shocked we've lasted this long. We've had, I mean, so many run-ins with lawsuits, fun dramas with Feddo, with Joy Tassidi.
been a ride.
It's been a real ride, you know, Joseph Shada, Joseph Medai, Bertalicious, all these great characters that have come into our lives, changed us for the better, you know, no garlic, no onion. And look at us now, 4 years later. Now we're beefing with American podcasters. Isn't that fun? You know
Branching
what I mean?
out.
Zionists too, Israeli Zionists calling us, you know, rats on the internet. That's fun. And now that 4 years are down for the podcast, like, what are our plans moving forward? You know what I mean? I definitely want to try to do some live streaming. I talked last week about learning how to use OBS. It's pretty overwhelming. I'm a 34-year-old man learning new software like OBS. Makes me feel very old, but I'm figuring it out. Elijah has already helped me. We're going to do a second session this week, so I'm going to learn how to live stream so that I can at least do some live streams on my own whenever I can, maybe bring a guest on or something. And so that when we're shooting the podcast, all of us together, it might not be live streamed, but at least we're going to shoot it using OBS, which should simplify the editing process, which should make a much quicker turnaround from when we film to when we can release the episodes. It's going to make the system hopefully a lot smoother, but I just have to learn how to use the fucking thing and have OBS open while I'm filming and like switching the camera live while we're all talking and stuff. So that's going to be kind of stressful. But I also kind of, want to take advantage of the fact that we have a new influx of viewers, and a lot of them from like the States and Europe, and maybe gear our content a little bit more towards that audience. I'm not sure how Noor feels about that, but like we have been talking about just Lebanese stuff and Lebanese influencers for like 4 years at this point. We can afford to change it up a little bit. You know what I mean? It's not that it's getting boring. We're always going to talk about our Joy Tasidis or Joseph Shada. Anytime something happens, we're gonna cover Dr. Food. We're not going to stop. But I also do want to, like, I see way more opportunities for growth with the international audience than I do see with like our own local audience. No offense, guys, whoever is still left here, we love you guys.
I'm not close to branching out. I just feel like we've been alienating our Lebanese viewers a lot.
We have.
I feel very bad. And I'm sick of subtitling all the videos.
You're mainly sick of it because of the subtitling, aren't you? Look, and the Ethan Klein stuff has definitely thrown a wrench in like our plans and everything. But it's been exciting too. Like, it's opened the door to a new opportunity. I just want to stop talking about Ethan. We're gonna get to that, but like just and get our audience used to what we normally do. But until then. So anyway, speaking of 4 years and our beloved fans who have stuck by us, I got a comment recently by a fan, an ex-patron as well, who I felt like I wanted to share his comment because he thinks that my opinions on like the war and Hezbollah are completely like wrong and misguided. And I figured, you know what, I want to give his comment some attention because I do have some pushback against his comment. So this is from Ali Taha. And he says, "Dear Anthony, I have been watching your podcast since episode 1 and never missed one since, and I've been a patron for a few months. Even the ones that were really hard to watch. It's always tough to see someone you respect externalize a Jungian projection all too publicly. You accuse Ethan of being politically naive and ignorant for misunderstanding and mischaracterizing much of what makes the Israel-Palestine conflict, and I tend to agree with that. But aren't you exhibiting the same ignorance and naivety when you call Hezbollah freedom fighters? Having been born in the south of Lebanon and having lived the first 10 years of my life under semi-occupation, nothing shaped the path my life has taken more than this conflict. I have been displaced 4 times because of war and returning to a partially destroyed home twice. My father was imprisoned for a short time in an Israeli prison camp, then exiled due to his partisan affiliation during the 80s. I'm saying all of that to tell you that you are completely ignorant about the facts relating to this conflict. You don't know Hezbollah, their history, crimes, and evil ideology. You don't understand the destructive project they are a part of, and you surely don't know or didn't know who Lebanon's defense minister is. I'm not shaming you for that. I'm a political researcher, and I still don't know nor care to. But I'm only pointing the hypocrisy of you holding that against Ethan. We are not equals in this conflict, as some of us have been bearing a bigger share of the cost compared to others. You surely felt unsafe while in Jaitewe during the war. Imagine living the war start to finish while bombs get dropped within 90 to 150 mile radius of where you live. I just want to pause right here. First of all, I think we've always made it very clear, and I've made it very clear that I am pretty far away from like any dangerous areas. I've expressed multiple times on this show and on other shows when I was a guest on Bat Hasbara that I even feel guilty complaining about the war given that I'm in such a safe area. So I've never tried to like sort of make myself seem like I'm suffering more, that my suffering is equal to that of the people living in the South. So saying that I think is extremely unfair. And also just it's kind of dismissive of saying that you surely felt unsafe while in Jaitewe. Well, I was in Jaitewe. I don't live in Jaitewe currently. So the fact that people, like, I know you watch the show and you watch every episode, but you don't know me, you don't know where I live. I guess you don't know everything about me. And I was living in Jaitewe when the August 4th blast happened, and that was one of the most traumatic events of my life. That was extremely scary. I don't know if you were in that area, but like, I don't know why you're making it about like who's suffering more, who's experienced more suffering. I've been very clear that I very much respect all the suffering that the people in the South are going through, and I never encourage, I'm not one to push for war. I never encourage the war, but if the war is happening, if that's something the people of the South wanted to do, then I wasn't going to stand in their way. But I don't really, I completely disagree with the characterization here. And then he says, and as all my fam and friends are abroad, having left Lebanon as a result of a sharp decline on the hands of Iran's proxies, I spent it mostly with my dog. The hardest part was to stay awake to avoid missing an evacuation warning within a close distance. I did miss one. I'm not blowing the horn of victimhood Olympics here. Kind of seems like you are. But I am pointing to the fact that we are unequally affected by this conflict. And the biggest favor you can do to people who are mostly affected by the war is to educate yourself on the topic before saying ridiculous things such as Hezbollah or freedom fighters. I am more than happy to contribute to that upon your solicitation. I mean, again, something I've made very clear also throughout this podcast is that Lebanese people are not a monolith in the way they view Hezbollah. My relationship with Hezbollah is very complex. I just mentioned the August 4th blast. It was partly because Hezbollah had stored ammonium nitrate at the port. I'm very aware of that. We've constantly called out the crimes and things that Hezbollah have done to hurt Lebanon, including assassinations and assassination attempts. But during the war against Israel, who's trying to take over our land and do a whole bunch of shit in the region, yeah, I'm going to stand with the Lebanese resistance. I'm not going to focus on the negative that they've done during the war when their people are dying and the South is being bombed. And there are people who live in the South that are in complete support of Hezbollah. So I can find you Lebanese Shia that live in the South that have a completely different view than you have right now. There's a Lebanese podcast called Haydakin Podcast, hosted by someone called Noor. You can go watch that podcast and get a completely different perspective of someone that lives in an area that is affected by the war, who is in full support of the resistance. So again, what you're saying represents you, and I agree, and I'm not trying to take anything away from your experience, and that sounds horrible, having to move and having to lose your home multiple times and having your dad being in an Israeli prison. I don't know any of that. This is also not a political show. I've never pretended to be a political commentator. The only reason we ever started talking about politics was when a war was happening and a genocide was happening against our Palestinian brothers and sisters, and then when the war came to our doorstep and our own people started to get killed. So I felt that it was a responsibility for me to at least raise awareness about what was happening and share a little bit of the everyday perspective that people around me are talking about. So I never pretend to be an expert, nor do I want to be considered a political commentator or expert. So of course, I'm still learning. Most of the research that I do before these podcasts is like just a couple of days before, and I'm going to talk about that a little bit more later, pertaining to Loner Box. But yeah, I mean, what do you think about this comment? Do you agree with what he's saying? Do you think it's fair, unfair?
I know a lot of people who share that exact opinion, actually, but whatever opinion you may have, it doesn't take away from anything that has happened, and people will definitely have 1,000 different opinions on the very, very difficult situation that's been happening. And I also think it's really unfair that for you to receive such message when you're just giving your opinion. You never claim to be anything you're not, so I don't get the point of the message.
No, I mean, and I get maybe someone who's being affected by the situation, hearing someone like me, and I do, again, despite everything that Hezbollah has done, and again, I've been very clear, Hezbollah has done some horrible things. They stand for some things that I do not stand for, but when it comes to war, when it comes to defending Lebanon from Israeli aggression, from someone that wants to invade some of our land, I am going to stand with the resistance. I'm going to kind of overlook some of the shit that they've done. Do you think I'm not happy that Hezbollah has now lost significant power, like in the Lebanese parliament and stuff like that? Of course I'm happy. But that also doesn't mean that I don't appreciate the sacrifices that they've done in defending Lebanon, and the people of the South, people like you, have done over many years. So I don't think there's any disagreement there. But yeah, I'm not an expert, but I also don't think that everyone agrees with what you're saying. There are people in the South that probably highly disagree with what you're saying right now. So to paint yourself as the one who everyone agrees with, again, that's not accurate. You know what I mean? People feel all sorts of ways about Hezbollah. So, and speaking of me not being a qualified political commentator, so I mean, we've been kind of beefing with Loner Box, a gentle back and forth.
I wouldn't call it beef.
It's not beef, right? Look, I'm trying to not like the guy. I really just don't care enough to not like him. He seems nice enough. Okay, he seems harmless. We talked about him, I think last week. Again, I responded to a video he made about us like a couple of weeks ago. It's all getting lost in the sauce. Lonerbox sent me this tweet. Okay, he said, "Hey, do not worry, pod. Just a heads up." So let me maximize this. So hey, do not worry, pod. Just a heads up. You're always welcome to come on stream and tell me what exactly you think I'm wrong about, because you don't really make much of a case on your streams. I guess backing up your positions is the boring part. And I replied just by saying lol with a picture of Lonerbox, Destiny, and Elon Levy, who is the personal like PR representative for Netanyahu when the Lonerbox and Destiny went to visit Israel, like all Lebanese people do, you know, your yearly visit to Israel. And then Lonerbox, what did I do? Oh yeah, and then I quote tweeted Lonerbox. And I shared that picture again, and I said, here's Lonerbox visiting Israel with Destiny and Elon Levy, blah, blah, blah. But at the bottom, I did say, despite all this, I don't hate him. Can we fix him, folks? Can we fix Lonerbox? I got a lot of comments saying, no, we can't. But I got a lot of these tweets. Let me just pull up a couple of them. Basically asking me to, like, why don't you debate him? Why are you scared of defending your positions? Debate Lonerbox. So here's, like, the unknown who, like, sent a whole bunch of tweets. He says they kind of here's defending Lonerbox's visit to Israel. He says they went to the West Bank and interviewed a whole bunch of Palestinians and gave voices to them, as they did with normal, moderate Israelis and historians on both sides. Funny how disingenuous, scared hacks like you, who can't even speak to Loner, will only mention this pic. Find a pair of balls and actually speak to him person to person instead of communicating via pictures from a trip he took, which you appear to know literally nothing about. Grow a spine and talk to man to man, or stick to your little safe space echo chambers.
Clock's ticking, Black
So
Ops.
very chill
Close this
response.
shit down.
Then I got another comment from Luen, says, so your answer is no. I'm too scared to have a conversation with him. And Stan says, you got to take him up on his offer. You got to take him up on his offer, or just chirp like a clown. So I got a bunch of these, like, hey, go debate him, be a man and debate him. What do you think? Should I debate Lonerbox on stream about Israel, Palestine?
Definitely not.
Is that what the internet needs? Hey, let me tell you guys why.
I feel like he doesn't want to listen. He's had many opportunities. He just doesn't want to.
Sleep easy.
I agree with that. And not only that, folks, let me say, I'm not qualified to debate anyone on Israel-Palestine. And guess what? Neither is Lonerbox. Like, you think both of us, like, he's a... Let's just watch this before I get into this. This is his video before when he went on H3. Ethan asked him about his qualifications. Let's see Lonerbox's qualifications very quickly. Let's just remember that.
So, when I hear you talk about like Israel, Palestine, or Ukraine, I feel like you have like a really deep understanding of things. I'm curious what your research or like academic background is on this stuff.
I have no academic. So I got a degree in sociology, and then that was in about 2012, 13, and then I completely ditched it and just spent the rest of the decade doing music, like music production,
very nice.
teaching, performance. And then I always had a kind of like secondary interest in politics. Like I would read a lot, or I would just watch podcasts or listen to commentators. And then eventually, after creating, I started reading more. So most of it is just like, if I ever look like I'm really well learned in a particular issue, usually when I was making video essays or streaming, it's usually just because I spent the week before reading as much as I could about it. So it's all just like one thing at a time, you know?
And look, no hate. He's got a sociology degree. I have a marketing degree, okay? He worked in music for 10 years. I work in television, like reality TV and stuff like that. Do you really want a sociology major who was a music professor to debate a marketing major who works in television about Israel and Palestine and the intricacies of Israel and Palestine? In what way are either of us supposed to be qualified to debate this? And like, what are we gonna do? Spend 3 days on Wikipedia and see who can read the most Wikipedia articles before we can talk to each other? And whoever manages to remember the most facts from those Wikipedia articles wins the debate? And what happens if I win the debate, or if he wins the debate? Does that mean genocide against Palestinians is justified to his audience? Like, what does that mean? What happens if I win? What happens if he wins? And what do either of us have to gain from this other than like just, you know, having a bullshit conversation? And like, look, again, I'm not qualified. Like, folks, I have a full-time job. I don't know what Lonerbox does. I don't know if he streams all day, if he has a job and he streams in the afternoons for fun. I have no idea what his streaming schedule is. I have a full-time job. I also host this podcast once a week that I have to prep, we record, we have to edit, etc. It takes a couple of days a week to work on this podcast. I train in boxing 3 to 4 times a week, so that takes up a lot of my time. I have some free time, you know, that I have to spend with my girlfriend or people that I love. So where am I going to find the time?
What? You have a life?
I have a life, so where am I going to find the time to all of a sudden put all of that aside and become an expert on Palestine so that I'm qualified enough to get on a podcast and like argue with Lonerbox? And like, look, if I get on a show with him now, and if I get on his stream and ask to debate, he might make me look incompetent because he might know a lot of facts and pull a lot of shit out of his pocket that I could easily refute if I had researched and knew the facts. But because I don't, and I'm going to be there unprepared, I might accidentally make him seem way more qualified and make him look like he's making better points than he would be making were he debating someone that actually knew what they were talking about. So I'm not going to put myself in that position for no reason, and I'm not going to make like supporters of Palestine look bad just so that I don't look like a pussy. So yeah, I'm going to get on your stream when I'm not qualified to do so. Like, I'm just starting right now to actually, just the way he said, he researches before making a video and like watches a bunch of videos and does a bit of reading. I've been learning about Palestine as I go. So this whole year, as we've been talking about the genocide and everything, that's when I've been learning before we film, as we film, doing research for the episode, because I want to know the bare minimum before getting on here and sharing my opinion. I only started digging into the Israel-Palestine stuff in 2001 when the Al-Aqsa Mosque stuff happened. That's when I really dug in and really started to learn. Like, I'm gonna read my first book on Palestine in a few months. I ordered it, but it's in the States. Like, for me to get it, it's gonna take a couple of months. But like, I'm just starting my journey of really learning about what's happening there. So for me to pretend like I know enough to get online and like debate someone on Israel-Palestine, and someone like Lonerbox, who very clearly is an Israel defender who sits there and tries to justify Israeli soldiers sniping kids in the head, etc. Like, I got nothing to gain from this, but I'm not going to sit here like, yeah, I'm not qualified to have a debate, but guess what? He's not qualified either, okay? You want to see what a debate looks like between someone who's qualified and not qualified? Not that I'm saying that he's qualified compared to me, but like, his best friend, his idol, Destiny, did a debate against Norm Finkelstein, okay? Let's just see how that looked, because that's fun, okay? Let's just watch a little bit of that.
Your name, please?
Stephen Bonnell.
Okay.
The idea that Jews would have out of hand rejected any state that had Arabs on it or always had a plan of expulsion is just betrayed by the acceptance of the 47 partition plan.
I don't think you understand politics.
Hamas is guilty of all of these same war crimes, of them failing to take care of the civilian population, of them essentially utilizing human shields to try to fire rockets free from attack.
Essentially?
Essentially, yes. As in, I'm just saying that...
I hate these memes, though.
In terms of how international law defines it, not how Amnesty International defines it, but Amnesty International... But they don't actually apply the correct international legal standard.
You don't know what's the correct
I know, absolutely.
international law. You haven't a clue.
I absolutely
You
do,
haven't a
Norm.
clue.
I absolutely
I
do.
think-
But I'm just saying... I'm just...
You want me to answer, or do you want your motor mouth to go?
That you like.
See, the problem, Mr. Morelli, is you don't know the English language. You don't
I can read from the UN website itself. In regards to the
Great March of Return, they said, while the vast majority of protesters act in a peaceful manner, during most protests, dozens of
I hate these edits.
damages
1 hour later.
land and nature reserves inside Israel and risk the lives of Israeli civilians.
2 days later.
Yeah, but you see,
I know you like them sometimes, only when they agree with you, though.
You got the months wrong.
Oh, I hate that
Got the
guy.
months wrong.
You are made of stupid.
She must have been awful incompetent.
This is a horrible edit. I couldn't find another one. But like, this is what a lot of these debate bros do as well. They just throw a lot of facts at you. They speak very fast. It's like the what's the Ben Shapiro method of...
Right to return.
How close is the 2004 advisory opinion gotten the...
He's 100% so cooked. This is the fundamental flaw in arguing from a liberal position that is completely empty, completely devoid of morality. The only people that will consider you to be a brilliant intellectual person are people who are too stupid. One day, I hope that we will look back at this and shudder, and we will have a hard time comprehending the inhumanity of the statements that this is making. Let's get back to Mr. Bonarelli. So at this point, the debate has taken a pause. I do want to talk about the amount of coverage, the amount of back and forth that occurred so far on October 7 versus the amount of time that was spent on Gaza before a break took place. Important for people to remember that like the death toll when they're talking about October 8th and onwards is infinitely higher than the much discussed October 7 here. There's a little bit of an imbalance there. It's partially because of, I think, Norm's stubbornness, I think, for sure, but just important. Yeah, this was one of the top comments underneath the video, which I think is really funny. Just showing all of the timestamps where Norm brings up very different names for Mr. Bonarelli.
By your solicitude for international law.
You should try learning it sometime. It would help you sort out a lot of the civilian deaths.
I was disappointed in Norm for this one. I am not disappointed in Norm at all. It would take a lot. I have been disappointed in Norm in the past, especially as it pertains to like contemporary domestic American politics and like Idpol or whatever. But when it comes to Gaza, he is the authority. Okay.
Unfortunately, 15 judges disagree.
You can keep citing the judges. You should actually try reading the actual statements.
This is tiring. You've invited us to a tiring session.
I found it interesting how Destiny's community didn't share any clips of him reacting to this or even reacting to your react. I wonder why. Yeah, because they love burying. They love burying when Top Dog gets actually abused, okay, and humiliated. To act like it doesn't exist. They try to wipe it out. So they will immediately move on to the next thing, which was me reacting to it, to be like, oh, he's such a piece of shit. Let's try to get him banned for reacting to this, for reacting to this debate. But, I think a lot of people are watching it and also arriving at the same conclusion that we have in this community, that he also recognizes that he got dumpstered and dumpstered, because of course he was going to. It is not for Norm to dismiss completely incorrect statements from a man who actively has read through Wikipedia pages to keep up with the situation. He needed to shut up and actually qualify people talk. Yeah. Tiny thinks he understands international law better than the 15 judges in the International Court of Justice. It's absolutely incredible. Imagine being that arrogant without any qualifications at all, but reading a Wikipedia page. Yes. And they'll move on to character assassination of Norm as well, I think, most likely, because this is the way that you operate. You're like, I don't talk about the debate, talk about my interlocutors and how they're wrong. If you can't clip them out of context and consistently pump that narrative, then move on to other shit, dox them or find things from their past and talk about how ridiculous they are. And I'm sure they're doing that already, desperately trying to pump and dump and investing themselves into changing the narrative desperately away from the fact that their top dog got absolutely owned. So he'll just keep flailing until people forget about it.
There are major things to discuss here, not just what some court is doing and going to judge in 2 years' time.
Yes, okay. So what you just said is one of the reasons why I feel so strongly about this particular conflict is because there are really important things to discuss, but they will never be discussed.
They're not being
We're not going to talk about area A, B, and C or what a transference of territory. Instead, we're going to talk about apartheid. We're not going to talk about the differences in how do you conduct war in an urban environment where people we're just going to talk about genocide. We're not going to talk about what's a good solution for the Palestinians. We're just going to say ethnic cleansing.
Possible to be productive over the next 2 hours and talk about solutions?
About solutions, I have no idea what to say. I mean, I don't see any solutions on, if you wanted a positive end to this discussion, which is what you said at the beginning, I can't contribute to that because I'm pessimistic. I don't see any way forward here.
But the lack of the solution is easy. The reason why the solution is hard is because the histories and the myths are there's a different factual record, right?
One of the things would be...
Yeah, no, he is right. He's right on this. Mr. Bonarcello is right. There is the real, accurate, historical record who my contemporaries such as Benny Morris will also reckon with. And then there's Israel's lack of historical record. The reason why there is such a deviation, a diversity of ideas, is because of the Zionist interest in not parsing through the historical facts. It is a deliberate attempt at whitewashing Israel's history. On page 514 in my 18th book on Gaza, I've dedicated 38 pages exclusively of footnotes detailing the many instances where the Israeli government has lied. Mr. Boyardee, you will not find this on Wikipedia. So perhaps that is the reason you are unfamiliar.
Good to talk about solutions with the future is going back in all the times it has failed. So every time.
But even at that, we're probably not going to agree. He's going to say, you can write that, I can predict the whole line. He's going to say from 93 to 99, he's going to say Israel didn't adhere to the Oslo Accords ever. Settlement expansion continued. Raids happened into the West Bank. That there was never a legitimate, that Netanyahu came in and violated the...
I like that he's like predicting what Norm Finkelstein is going to say, because like, yeah, you're predicting that because that is what happened. Like, yeah, I'm predicting that Norm is going to give an accurate retelling of all the events that actually transpired in this time frame. Yeah, okay. Exactly. Your prediction is accurate because that is exactly what happened. It like, if you don't have a counter argument to it, all you can do is, I'm predicting this is what he's going to say. Okay, yeah, it is predictable because if one party is making an assessment, or rather repeating events that transpired, and the other party has no counter to it, all you can do is just basically say, well, I'm predicting this is what he's going to say. Okay, how about you predict the counter to some of that?
The Y memorandum, the transference, he's going to say all of this, and he's not going to bring up anything on the Palestinian side. And then for Camp David, he's going to say that, yeah, that Arafat was trying, that the maps and the territorial exchange wasn't good enough, that they were asking Palestinians to make all the concessions, that Israel would have, like, it's, yeah.
Well, lay it all out. Lay it out.
You do talk quickly, you know?
Yeah, I know, yeah.
And yeah, my future book should interest you guys.
Oh, what are you working on?
No, not working on. It's actually going to come out. It deals with Israeli and Arab atrocities, war crimes, I call them, in the 48 war. That's
oh, really?
Book, yeah. Just deals with that subject.
Is this because I know
Bro really is about to write another book about like Deir Yassin, only to be like, and it was actually justified. He's gonna do an accurate retelling of the horrifying war crimes committed by Israeli terror cells, and then and slap on a conclusion at the end of it, like, well, it was good. It was for a higher cause.
You've also talked about the closure of the archives and stuff.
Well, it's marginal. It deals with that as well, but they have tried to seal off documents which had already used and seen. So now they don't let people see them. That's happened, but it's marginal in terms of its effect on.
Were the British archives useful for you for this new book?
Well, for this less, it's mostly Israeli archives. The British and the Americans and the UN did deal with these subjects, but not as well as Israeli documents.
What's your casualty count for Deir Yassin?
It's about 100. I think there's agreement on that by Israelis and Arabs. 100, 105.
Because before they were...
They used to say 245 or 254. Those were the figures the British and the Arabs and the Haganah agreed on at the beginning.
Because the Red Cross, I think, was the one that first put out that number.
I don't remember. Maybe it was, what's his name, Jacques de Reynier. Maybe. Yeah, maybe he came up with that number. But it was just, they didn't count. They didn't count bodies. They just threw the number out, and everybody was happy to blame the Irgun and the Lehi for, killing more Arabs than actually.
Well, and they put it to good use as well.
Well, they said that it helped precipitate more evacuation. So they were.
I think Begin in his memoirs.
They also used that number.
By the way, this is again. I was watching the conversation that took place between three very knowledgeable people and also a kick streamer, Mike Malak, everybody, also known as Hey Big Mike.
How's everybody doing today? Thanks for having me on.
All right, let's get
So
back
first
to
of all,
Mr.
thank you for that
Balotelli.
heated discussion about the present. I would love to go back into history in a way that informs what you can look for in by way of hope for the future. So when has in Israel and Palestine have we been closest to something like a peace settlement, to something that where both sides would be happy and enable the flourishing of both peoples?
Well, from my knowledge of the 120 years or so of conflict, the closest I think the two sides have been to reaching some sort of settlement appears to have been in the year 2000 when Barack and then subsequently Clinton offered a two-state settlement to PLO Palestinian Authority Chairman Yasser Arafat. And Arafat seemed to waver. He didn't immediately.
This is going to be good because this is like finally we're talking about actual facts and not just like a shit-slinging competition, I hope.
Reject what was being offered, but ultimately he came down at the end of Camp David in July 2000. He came down against the proposals, and Clinton, who said he wouldn't blame him, later blamed Arafat for bringing down the summit and not reaching a solution there. But I think they're on the table, certainly in the Clinton parameters of December 2000, which followed the proposals by Barack in July. The Palestinians were offered the best deal they're ever going to get from Israel, unless Israel is destroyed, and then there'll just be a Palestinian Arab state. But the best deal that Israel could ever offer them, they were offered, which essentially was 95% of the West Bank, East Jerusalem, half of the old city of Jerusalem, some sort of joint control of the Temple Mount, and the Gaza Strip, of course, in full. And the Palestinians said no to this deal. And nobody really knows why Arafat said no. That is, some people think he was trying to hold out for...
Nobody knows why he said no? Bro. No, people definitely know why he said no. He very openly said it too. It's not even, he didn't even say no. That's the other thing. He did openly state that a major point of contention would be that he would get assassinated.
Or slightly better terms.
He had no capacity to say no.
But my reading is that he was constitutionally, psychologically incapable of signing off on a two-state deal, meaning acceptance of the existence of a Jewish state. This was really the problem. And,
of Israel or of a Jewish state?
Of a Jewish state, the Jewish state of Israel. He wasn't willing to share Palestine with the Jews and put his name to that. I think he just couldn't do it. That's my reading. But some people say it was because the terms were insufficient and he was willing, but was waiting for slightly better terms. I don't buy that. I don't think so. But other people disagree with me on this.
He doesn't buy that. No water rights, no states' rights, no standing military. And also Jerusalem is given unconditionally to the state of Israel, a thing that he had no right to say yes to, by the way, which was part of the contention, that it was not within his grounds to say yes to the permanent annexation of Jerusalem, because he said this is a historically and religiously significant land that is far beyond my or your powers of recognizing as belonging to one side. He very famously said that, because I think Bill Clinton tried to sweeten the deal by Clinton offered him like a nice house.
Did I see the leaked mining dinner gala stream in Australia? Wasn't that a Friendly Geordies video? I think I did see that, but I stopped watching it because he intersperses so many jokes that just make me not want to watch anymore. That's the truth of it. He's been at it for like 10 years, but he still makes the same jokes he did when he was like 18, and it makes him impossible to watch for me. Like, he's not funny. I'm sorry, like boy are funny. Boy cover serious topics and provide like journalistic merit while being funny. Friendly Geordies doesn't. He's not funny, and he tries too hard to be, and it just takes away from what he does, which often is actually pretty good. Like, he actually talks about serious topics and puts himself at real risk to talk about them quite a lot. And his overall politics are garbage, dog shit labor, generic pro-labor shill, who will never actually point out the fact that, the things that he denounces are in many respects caused by the same Labour Party, or that the Labour Party are complicit in the same things that he will denounce without mentioning them. But when he does do actual journalism, it is very good. The facts that him and his team uncover, and I will mention his team because obviously he's not doing it alone, are good. They do a really good job of it. They put themselves at risk quite a bit to do so. And then in the final cut video, they do a great disservice to themselves by framing it in a very childish way, and that makes it very difficult for me to watch his content, even when he is actually revealing original facts that he and his team are the first ones to really be uncovering. It's just so difficult to watch when it's interspersed with like a really unfunny 2010s joke about like wogs or something. If I were him, I would keep that shit to the comedy videos, which he also makes and which I will never watch, and keep it out of the serious videos. But he doesn't do it, and his content really suffers for it. It just makes it so hard to watch. I'm saying that as someone who thinks that he's overall a net positive due to like just the actually like really risky real journalism that he and his team does. I still think that like he makes it inaccessible for anyone remotely serious by the way that he frames it. Like he's someone who like exposes like mafia like links of like Australian politicians and like sends his team members to like Indonesia to like fucking talk to like Papuan rebels and stuff. And then when that he finally makes a video putting that like all together, it's interspersed with like an unfunny joke every 2 minutes that really just takes away from it. And it's just unfortunate that that is what he still feels the need to do.
Elon Musk has been calling out Asmongold because Asmongold released videos on Elon Musk's basically saying Elon Musk is a gaming fraud and he's absolutely boosted. Now Elon's sent out a tweet saying Asmon behaves like a maverick, independent, but in reality he has to ask his boss for permission before he can do anything. He's not his own man. Okay, right? Okay, that's. And then he posts the DMs, bro. How fucking clueless is he to not understand almost every YouTuber over the size of like, I don't know, like 5,000 subs or 10,000 subs has an editor. Like it's some sort of secret own. Oh, who are these mysterious editors? Oh, you're not even a real man. You've got editors doing your YouTube for you? But then I don't get, doesn't that mean he's not his own man? Right, which is why I obviously saw this tweet, had to retweet. At least Asmongold can log into his own PoE account without asking permission from his booster, which is the truth, bro. What, his YouTube editors, like, Danny comes in and is like, all right, Asmongold, I'm gonna need you to say this word. Okay, here's the script. You're gonna just read that out, and then you're gonna say that. All right, and then I want you to do a little react to this video here and say these things, and like that's what he thinks is happening. No, like that's what's going for Elon Musk's brain, dude, and that's how like stupid he is to make this tweet, which is truly, I mean, just true insanity, right? To the point where, wait, are we just making fun of someone who genuinely has like something wrong with their brain? Like if they can't comprehend this basic level of like, oh, YouTubers have editors, like they make highlights of streams. Are we making fun of someone who has some form of mental deficiency, which then makes it a little bit like less funny, you know? This to me is just like it yells, I'm pathetic, I'm desperate for validation, and on top of that, I'm completely out of touch. I don't understand. He just thinks every YouTuber is sitting there like handcrafting every video and like curating every single clip, and they're just while streaming like fucking 8 to 10 hours a day, and they're just making like 15 YouTube videos a day while they're live. Like, I don't know how clueless is he, bro? New micros and Part of XL2. Elon's map stash tab. Add a waste on stash tab to your account. Elon's map stash tab can hold up to 100 things. We might know one thing, but this is absolutely uncalled for. Oh shit, his little chipmunk's back. No other way to say this, but Adam Gold is good at causing commentary and making fun of people. He is not good at video games. Oh shit. Oh my god. Elon Musk is so mad, bro. I mean, dude, Ezra doesn't claim to be a rank 1 gamer. What are you on about? Okay, so he gaslights and then he makes up some random shit about not being good at video games whenever it goes. I mean, he's at no point projected, at no point claimed to be good at video games, versus Elon Musk out here bragging on every show he can, on every fucking podcast. He's sending out tweets. I'm the best gamer. I'm the god. I was the god gamer of chess. I'm the god gamer of D4. I'm the god gamer of PoE. Yeah, it's not a big deal. I'm doing 12 things right now while playing games. My mind palace, my brain demons, they're at me, and gaming helps me focus. Being the best is just what I do. Like, are you getting that? And then you're clearly cheating and clearly fucking boosted. I'm literally Iron Man. Yeah, that's what he's saying, dude. Hassan says, oh my god, he's the most thin-skinned man alive. Just let it go, man. Stop being online. You have more money than anyone else, and you're fighting internet battles because nerds who otherwise love you found out you're boosting your account in a video game. I mean, it's kind of true. A little bit is an over-exaggeration, but actually, I'm going to like that Hassan tweet. I'm going to like that Hassan tweet.
I did actually have a very good feeling, and I thought for sure that Elon was going to unfollow me or something.
You got to suck his dick. Yes, Daddy Elon. Yes, you're the bestest gamer ever. You're the #1. You're the god gamer. Basically, if you don't do that, fuck you. Even more important that you critical your friends so that you can help them improve. Like, if your mates, like, that's what I'm thinking. Like, why is none of Pirate's friends helping him out? But then maybe you can't get through to a guy like that. Just like maybe you can't get through to a guy like Elon Musk.
The bias.
Wait, Crip got timed out, bro? Your chick, Mac, is from Jeopardy Queen. How was your coke? Oh, shit. Wait, we need to make... Wait, Crip, did he actually take your chick, Mark? No, I got unverified when Elon took over and never paid. So hang on for all. Okay.
Basically, I react to the PoE video. Elon and I have a disagreement in DMs, and a brief disagreement. And this, of course, was at. I thought leaking DMs was. I thought this was bad.
It's bad etiquette.
This was bad etiquette.
100%.
Right?
Yep.
Bad internet etiquette.
It really is.
For me to do.
The only way you can link DMs is if it's consensual or the other person is doing something really fucked. That's the only time. Like, that person has to be doing something really fucked in DMs, or it's consensual.
Like, you have to understand that it could also be against the terms of service. And one of us, the two of us, one of us owns the website, the other one doesn't, right? So I'm not going to leak the DMs, okay? And so anyway, one of the things I said to him is, I said, level 97, you know, don't you think you're flying a little bit too close to the sun?
Yeah, there it is.
You know, or something like that, LOL.
You're taking the piss. And, he's taking the piss. Nobody believes you're 97. Nobody, you're saying you're in the top 20. You're saying you're in the top 10. You're out there bragging. At least try, like, and make it seem believable. You know, maybe just go level 80 something, you know?
Elon wants to, we can figure out a way, because like, I know the things that people can check if you're cheating. I'll help you cheat, and people won't know. But you can't do it like this. It's too fucking obvious.
He's like, no, I want to be the highest rank possible so I can brag to Joe Rogan. And then Joe Rogan has no fucking clue what's going on, so he's going to be like, wow, holy Elon. Elon, you're so good. So that's why I go big dick in games and I become rank 1. It allows me to see the code. I can see the matrix because I am Neo. I am literally him. I am half man, half god. I am Elon Musk.
When I went to bed, I didn't have the, I had the check mark and I had the gaming thing. When I woke up, I had neither. Then I had the check mark. Then I had the check mark and the gaming thing. And now I only have the check mark. So just so we...
Oh my god! Elon actually did do it! Holy! I was skeptical about that. Oh my god! Elon is unhinged. He's having a meltdown. He's a little man-child having a meltdown. He's taking it by check marks. Oh, this is so pathetic. Oh, I pity him so much. How could a guy be in his position and be this fucking
That's right, dickheads. Piss off.
what the fuck? It reeks of desperation. He's so petty and sad, bro. How can you be a billionaire, super successful guy with top whatever the fuck? Like, I mean, people think he's actually going to be maybe a president one day. I mean, and then he's just doing this shit over a fake computer game rank. I mean, it's so sad.
This is what's happened. And so I think that he will get over it and he will see where I'm coming from. In any sort of a group, if you don't call out bad actions by people, they multiply.
You know, like CEOs become massive and it's because they get surrounded by people who aren't willing to stand up to them and say anything bad about them. So then they keep doubling down on their bad behavior. And it becomes an echo chamber where it just loops and reinforces bad behaviors. And that's how you get these unhinged mental, just punishing people and yelling at flight attendants and doing all sorts of unhinged shit. It's because they surround themselves with this environment. And that's 100% what's happened to Elon Musk. That's what's happening with Pirate. That's what happened with Kanye West. They get to a threshold, a point where everyone's like, dude, the fuck is wrong with you? And everyone hates them. And that's what's happening right now to Elon Musk.
Yeah, there we go. Like, he didn't even get his check. Like, he didn't get in trouble. Like, Crip got in trouble. I got in trouble. Quinn didn't get in trouble. Quinn made the fucking video. That's not fucking fair.
We're going to say I'm the man.
You can't go and you can't do this in front of everybody and expect for people to say that the emperor's got new clothes. You can't do it because it makes everybody complicit in a known lie. And you bought Twitter because the world was compelled into being complicit with so many known lies.
The whole point.
And so
all he does is preach about truth and the freedom of speech and letting people know the truth. And it's kind of funny because the owner systems, which he, you know, I don't know if he actually made it, but he definitely encourages them and talks about how good they are actually annihilating him. He's getting called out by it. It's super hypocritical, right?
I'm saying this so we don't have the same type of fucking weird biases, double standards, and bullshit that he and I have complained about for years. And I'm not saying, like, you're not the worst person, it's not the terrible guy or anything like that. But come on, man, you get 97's too high. And if you want to have somebody play your account, that's fine. But you can't go and act like you played it yourself.
There it is.
Like, it's not a big deal.
True.
So he's mad at you for defending Pirate? No, well, actually, maybe. I don't know. Maybe that is why. I have no idea. And so anyway, that's what it was. And
Working on eggshells, man. Working on eggshells. Like some sort of schizo girlfriend is just going to get mad at fucking anything, dude.
I don't need anybody defending my gaming abilities. I do suck at a lot of video games. It's not really a big deal.
There it is.
It's a game, right?
How does he tweet so? Bro, bro, there ain't no way you get even 97 in the game if he's just tweeting this much, by the way. There's like even if he were just, he didn't show how bad he was at the game or anything, and all you knew was just how much he tweets and what his levels in PoE, you'd be like, well, it's impossible. In this period of time, you tweeted 2,700 times. It's tweet per hour, bro. It's too high.
Asmon behaves like a maverick independent, but in reality has to ask his boss for permission before he can do anything. He is not his own man. This was in response to uploading content onto Twitter, right? And so he says, sure, who are these mysterious editors? And then
mysterious editors.
You know, leaked. These are my two editors. They basically run the entire YouTube account. absolutely true.
Interesting.
And so basically any content I upload is edited or uploaded by them. And
who are these? You know, he's sitting there like, oh, he's got shadow rudders. They tell him what to do. He's got the shadow rudders in the walls telling him what to say. Emerald has no idea. He thinks he's like, oh, this guy's not retarded, right? He knows what a YouTube editor is, right? Like it's some guy who just re-uploads the fucking content from the live stream and cuts it in a way that's more palatable, more succinct, and overall better. And Elon Musk is like, the guys, the puppet masters pulling the strings.
And so I think that he interpreted me saying that I had editors as like a formal publication saying that I have editors.
The TLDR of this is Elon Musk is retarded. And he's just completely misunderstanding the situation, going full in unhinged mode, full unhinged, and then abusing his power, right, to try and make himself look good. That's all that's happening. That's what's going on here. Everyone can see it, and it's just sad and pathetic. I'm a Starlink enjoyer, and I got the Tesla Powerwall. But dude, what the fuck are you doing, Elon? Stop trying to fucking lie to the gaming community to try and look good for I don't even know what reason. Like nobody cares. People already like the fucking companies you're running. You don't need to have like an extra fucking 2%. Like you don't need to lie and do this weird LARPing thing to get like an extra 2% of kudos. I don't know. It's just sad, bro. It's sad.
Hopefully Quinn won't mind me saying this, but like Quinn reached out to me and he actually like I don't think apologize is the right word, but he clarified like he wasn't trying to like take shots at me or something for like the fact that I hadn't watched the Elon video, and people had taken that a bit out of context. And so like I just want to let you guys know, like me and Quinn are 100% good. Like there's no issue. Like that was never even a thing.
Wait, has it seen the next video that chat clipped out of context again? Which then he hasn't seen the next video. He hasn't seen the other video, which at the beginning of the stream where it's like the opposite.
What is this? Quinn realizes he was right about Asmon and Elon.
But now I'm starting to wonder, like, wait a minute. Wait, was that like? What? Maybe I wasn't wrong. Maybe Asmon wasn't fighting it based on the outcome of what's happening right now.
Oh God!
Maybe Asmon didn't want to talk about it because he knew Elon would have a meltdown because he knew Elon's a little soy boy, better cuck bitch, bro.
Jesus Christ! This is so good. What's the avoided it? Challenger and League exposed Silver, made like 5 videos a day about it. Yeah. If I don't react to it, I'm ignoring it. If I do react to it, I'm not reacting hard enough.
Aguinaldo calling in UAV.
UAV commencing surveillance operation. UAV MTL 50%. Check. Thanks for the work. UAV overflight terminated.
Target dropped. TACOM, get me a Hellstorm.
Target is CDR, HDR point.
Stat. Everyone on me! Go!
And then refused to accept any responsibility on that. That's it. That's all this is. But yeah, it's
also Soda Papa knows better than anyone else that like if you're already a pretty well-loved creator, just owning up to shit is enough that people like will look away. I mean, for God's sake, fucking what's his name? Dr. Disrespect. Dr. Disrespect went on Twitter and said, yeah, I was talking to a minor. And he had people who still went and said, I just respect that you owned up to it.
Leaders.
So you got like 1 or 2 people killed in WoW. It's really like in the grand scheme of things, not that big of a deal. Okay? Really not that big of a deal. And you are a well-liked creator. Even if you weren't at fault, if you just say like, my bad, people will be like, oh man, I just appreciate that you can, you know, own up to things. Thanks, man. I respect it. The pedophile got away with doing that. I feel like your crime is significantly less bad. I think it would be fine, actually.
Get a UAV in the air.
Basman literally, well, he didn't call for the genocide of Palestinians. He basically said he didn't give a fuck that they got genocided because they are an inferior people or an inferior culture. And then he said, my bad. And a million content creators were like, I just really respect the apology. I respect that he owned up to, you know, this thing that he said on stream that was really bad.
It's annoying. Joker clip.
Honestly, pirate software like.
Oh my god. Okay, see this. Okay.
Bro, this dude is a complete fraud. At least in the WoW space, I don't care if you work for Blizzard. The guy probably made coffee for some devs. I don't even believe for a second he coded anything in this game. I don't like, dude. Nothing at all. All right, bro. Guy probably was interning there for a week. I'm not gonna believe.
Good to see you.
Were people under the impression he's like some WoW like crazy good player? I was not under this impression. Were others under this impression? That's how he marketed himself. Customers, I don't know. He said so himself. I've never. I mean, I would have just disagreed if I just looked at his screen and saw rank 1 Blizzard isn't keybound. Like, really? I don't think polymorph is. Maybe they're like hidden. I don't know.
Walks. Yeah.
He said he was a mythic raider. Sure. Okay. You can mythic raid and like click a lot of. Like, who cares? Especially for tanking. Either way, I guess, yeah, maybe like the YouTube Shorts audience is gonna like wake up. I don't know, but I was never under that impression. Who cares?
To be honest with you, that group had already almost full wiped us the entire dungeon before. That was our second dire mole with the same group. The first one, we all of us had to leave drop groups that we could teleport out. The second one was this. No reason for me to do shit. Evocate was on cooldown, 2.5 minutes left. So no, I didn't trust the group to survive. And no, I wasn't going to go back on the call of them saying, run, 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 it's time to run. So no.
It's a lot of confidence in being wrong. Okay, next.
And then he said, my bad. And a million content creators were like, I just really respect the apology. I respect that he...
And then refused to accept any responsibility on that. That's it. That's all this is. But yeah, it's
also Soda Papa knows better than anyone else that like if you're already a pretty well-loved creator, just owning up to shit is enough that people like will look away. I mean, for God's sake, fucking what's his name? Dr. Disrespect. Dr. Disrespect went on Twitter and said, yeah, I was talking to a minor. And he had people who still went and said, I just respect that you owned up to it.
On it. Keep those crimson bastards off me.
So you got like 1 or 2 people killed in
Keep an eye out.
in WoW. It's really like in the grand scheme of things, not that big of a deal. Okay? Really not that big of a deal.
Taking Bravo underway.
And you are a well-liked creator. Even if you weren't at fault, if you just say like, my bad, people will be like, oh man, I just appreciate that you can, you know, own up to things. Thanks, man. I respect it. The pedophile got away with doing that.
Zone Charlie locked down.
I feel like your crime is significantly less bad. I think it would be fine, actually. Basman literally, well, he didn't call for the genocide of Palestinians. He basically said he didn't give a fuck that they got genocided because they are an inferior people or an inferior culture. And then he said, my bad. And a million contributors were like, I just really respect the apology. I respect that he owned up to, you know, this thing that he said on stream that was really bad.
It's annoying. Joker clip.
I want to see pirate software like stream.
Oh my god. Okay, see this. Okay.
Up, bro. This dude is a complete fraud. At least in the WoW space, I don't care if he worked for Blizzard. The guy probably made coffee for some devs. I don't even believe for a second he coded anything in this game. I don't like, dude. Nothing at all. All right, bro. Guy probably was interning there for a week. I'm not gonna believe a.
Were people under the impression he's like some WoW like crazy good player? I was not under this impression. Were others under this impression? That's how he marketed himself. Customers, I don't know. He said so himself. I've never. I mean, I would have just disagreed. If I just looked at his screen and saw rank 1 Blizzard isn't keybound. Be like, really? I don't think polymorph is. Maybe they're like hidden. I don't know.
Walks. Yeah.
He said he was a mythic raider. Sure, okay. You can mythic raid and like click a lot of. Like, who cares? Especially for tanking. Either way, I guess yeah. Maybe like the YouTube Shorts audience is gonna like wake up. I don't know, but I was never under that impression. Who cares?
To be honest with you, that group had already almost full wiped us the entire dungeon before. That was our second dire mall with the same group. The first one, we all of us had to leave drop groups that we could teleport. The second one was this. No reason for me to do shit. Evo K was on cooldown, 2.5 minutes left. So no, I didn't trust the group to survive. And no, I wasn't going to go back on the call of them saying, run, it's time to run. So no.
It's a lot of confidence in being wrong. Okay, next, he's just wrong. He's labeled as a sweat in the guild. Was he? Yeah, that's a mislabel then. Again, I've been wanting to go through and relabel people just based on how I've seen them play in general. I gotta look at all of our 60s and see who's a sweat and a non-sweat for prepping for raid. I have no clue. I haven't done this because I wanted to see if Tyler would ever do it. He never did it. Did a hell of a lot more than I thought. Tyler did a phenomenal job with what he had and his knowledge and all of it being kind of dumped on him. But he did not do that. So I want to do that. What? Important clip.
Yeah, a lot of things I think the mages forget, man, is you are a control unit. You're there to control the battlefield, and you need to be using your wards and your ice barrier.
Yes, mage. So we need a mage for every dungeon. If anything goes wrong, they can just lock down everything.
Yep. I mean, They need to have rank 1 Blizzard on their bar. They need to be using their Frost Ward and their Fire Ward. They need to be using their Ice Barrier on cooldown, basically, because Ice Barrier has a 30-second cooldown but lasts a minute, so you should be rolling that in.
Huh. Okay, yeah, so okay. So Pirate is more of a knowledge basin, not much of a gameplay basin, I guess. I don't know, like, he sucked. He choked, he threw, and then he confidently told everyone he didn't throw when he did. That's the end of it. He's wrong. I saw Asmongold talk about it. I saw some clip earlier. What was Asmon? Why is Asmon involved in this?
Yes. Because we had already done a poll like that.
Oh my God, we're still going. What are
done a poll like this in
There's a lot. Jesus, there's a lot of digging here.
The second round, and that's why I'm on the fringes casting rank 1 Blizzard at the very end, and I higher rank Blizzard before that to try and do damage to the dogs, but I had to cancel it almost immediately. Got like 1 tick off. Because that boss is immune to CC. And it's like, dude, I'm not going to die. I just can't at that point. It's too high risk.
I think, I think if you...
Hey, yeah, no, I can understand that dissection of it through the lens of a bad player. I can totally get that. You had no idea what kind of threat on the boss was having. You didn't know the boss wasn't going to hurt you. You were in zero danger, but panicking because you couldn't assess the situation very well. Like, again, I see that from the lens of someone who didn't know what was going on. He has 0 add-ons. I mean, he should know that the tanks are literally beating the guy to the boss and probably has multiple sunders. You're not pulling threat off that boss with the Blizzard. You're not. It's not happening. You're good. Finish the clip of T1. Oh.
I think people are just like pissed off because everybody...
Okay, finished it. Next.
A lot of tanks, man.
Yeah.
Like, I watched Jay
so many
Beasley
clips.
died the other day. That was rough.
That was sad. As a mage player, that was sad to watch from 2 mages in a group.
It made me physically unwell. Yeah.
Yeah. It made me feel like I was a decent mage player, knowing that I probably would have done a lot more.
Like, there were no sheeps going out. There were no blizzards going out. Apparently, he didn't have the spec for blizzard for slows, but, like, that's exactly why I run that spec. Because, like, when it goes sideways, you save lives, man.
Oh, it's blizzard.
Yeah.
Okay, this is, okay. At this point, it is comical. It is.
Dude. You do not shit on Gun for his gaming abilities. That's a mistake. That's a mistake, dude.
We're losing Charlie.
Why do you think he's bald?
We lost Charlie.
Okay? He traded a follicle for each skill in a video game. All right? He made a deal many years ago, many moons ago even, to lose his hair in exchange for being good at video games. All right? He would smoke you 10 out of 10 times. Going after him is crazy. That's insane. Many goons ago.
I watched it, like, Jay Beasley died the other day. That was rough.
I like how you don't need to have any experience with WoW and you're having so much fun. I look at LSF, like, I would say twice a week maybe, and I've been getting so sick and tired of WoW clips. I'm like, I don't care. And this is the first time so far that I've opened it, and I've been like, oh my God, yes! Happy that I see WoW clips, because it's hilarious. It's so fun to watch someone just like...
And as a mage player, that was sad to watch from 2 mages.
Digging!
It made me physically unwell. Yeah.
Yeah. It made me feel like I was a decent mage player, knowing that I probably would have done a lot more.
Like, there were no sheeps going out. There were no blizzards going out. Apparently, he didn't have the spec for blizzard for slows, but, like, that's exactly why I run that spec. Because, like, when shit goes sideways, you save lives, man.
Oh, 100%. And blizzard is, like, absolutely goated. It's so good.
Oh my God, he's gagging, he's gagging. He's gagging. He's pooping. Oh my god.
Bravo lost. Now Charlie.
Just following along, I'm not a loud player. Thanks for explaining. Still sounds like a foreign language at times. I need that clip. I got you, dog. I got you. Here you go.
Xiaohongshu, from what I understand, is also like the Chinese urban, the urban Chinese class that is like more liberal, more like many of them have traveled to America. Some of them actually went to school in America. It's probably like it just happened to be like a perfect way for Americans to be introduced to Chinese culture because like a lot of the people there speak English.
You're planning on keeping up.
Anyway, yeah, this is yeah, I was Xiaohongshu posting before it was cool, you know what I mean? I was scrolling to Xiaohongshu yesterday and they literally have a term for small head broad shoulders called double door refrigerator. Is TikTok actually getting banned for real? I mean, we'll talk about that. I still don't think it'll get banned, but why is he like this? UC Todic is now in LA. You got a link up for b-ball. He hates playing ball with me. I'm gonna be honest with you. China's official state media People's Daily recommended on American TikTokers worshiping to Xiaohongshu, Red Note. President Xi says the hope for U.S.-China relations lies with the peoples. In the age of globalization and the internet, our community of shared destiny will only become closer. Rather than call them refugees, let's call them villagers of Village Earth who have found a new home. I love that. Wonderful message. I'm on board with that. It's always so funny because like, regardless of your criticisms of the Chinese government, and some are very valid, you'll have the Chinese government be like, yeah, we need to do prosperity for all people. And then there's immediately like 700 people in the replies being like, what about prosperity at Tiananmen Square? What about the Uyghur Muslims? And it's like, you click on their profile and they're literally like, Israel should go harder. Israel should go harder on. And it's like, dude, I don't think you care about the Muslims at all. What? Like, what, you just wanted to destroy any opportunity of people just having like a good time with one another across cultures, you know? So much of the CIA's work being flushed down the toilet. Yeah, I mean, not really. This is not, I don't think you guys understand the mindset of the average American in terms of like how they see the Chinese, okay? They're not white enough, bro. They're not white. The average American does not look at a Chinese person and go, oh, they're just like normal. They're normal people just like us. I don't think you understand. The average American still despises the Chinese. They think the Chinese are like an alien species, okay?
And let me tell you, I've been taken up to the third heaven. I've been jacked into the big plan. I've seen it. I can't even compute all of it. So fantastical. You've not seen nothing. You ain't heard nothing. You ain't smelled nothing like this. I don't have words to tell you. But I tell you, anybody tries to get in the way of the incredible plan the big guys got for us has got me pissed, and I'm just begging to stay on the team, man. Just put me in the game, coach. Whatever you say, coach. I know I'm weak. I know I'm pathetic.
That is what she said, unironically. When Mao sent his family to the mines, he said, put me back in, coach. I will learn. I will atone for my reactionary sentiment. I will atone. I will learn the process. I will learn the ways in which the rural farmland can be improved. And I will use that. I will use that personal experience in an effort to uplift, all of China.
I'm so lucky you, baby. What do I do, Bob? Like a hunting dog, man. Just take me out of the house. Just turn me on them. Just tell me what I got to do. Tell me how I serve you. Tell me what I can do for you right now. Woo! And let me tell you,
you agree this sudden popularity of Red Note as a Chinese psyop right has to be no? No, I think a lot of people love their treats. No, I genuinely think people just love their treats so much that they think it was like TikTok's algorithm was so good that the very fact that the American government is planning on banning it made the very fact that the American government said that it was planning on banning it made people go, okay, well, I'm going to find another Chinese application to go and utilize. And I think that there's also a great overemphasis on, how many people are actually going to Xiaohongshu or how many people are actually like learning to love their Chinese counterparts. You know, that's it. It's not like a psyop. Not everything has to be this like broad, like secret initiative, you know? And I say this about like the American government too. Sometimes you guys will say that about like even the American government, where you're like, oh my God, this must be a psyop by the American government. It's like, nah, it's not. It's just how things are. Once you understand what human beings are motivated by and recognize that most human beings have the exact same motivations in general, I think it makes a lot of things easier to dissect, easier to comprehend. The fact that Erewhon is so expensive for a smoothie, why would you ever get a smoothie at Erewhon? That's your fault. Dude, it's like going into the Equinox sauna in West Hollywood and not sucking a You're there to suck, okay? You can't be like, wow, why are there, like, you can't go into an Erewhon and get a smoothie and be like, oh, it's so expensive. Like, bitch, you knew what the price point was. Why are you going to Erewhon even at all? Fair. That's a good take, Hassan. That's a good take early, Hassan. I think these videos, what is Will Neff saying? Why are you saying adding Will Neff? I'm not a chainer. I'm not a China hater. I love Xi. I just think that you're so good at spotting American psyops, but I think we're having trouble seeing psyops for non-Western countries. Dude, you have to also understand, what is the psyop? Like, what is the psyop? That people go, oh wow, Chinese people are just like us. Like Xiaohongshu, out of the many different applications readily available to the Chinese population, Xiaohongshu, from what I understand, is also like the Chinese urban, the urban Chinese class that is like more liberal, more like many of them have traveled to America. Some of them actually went to school in America. It's probably like it just happened to be like a perfect way for Americans to be introduced to Chinese culture, because like a lot of the people there speak English. Okay. I don't think that it was like a deliberate. I don't think that it was like a deliberate psyop. Also, what is the psyop? The psyop there is what? To make Americans think Chinese people are not. To make Americans think that Chinese people are not like weird aliens that live in this like hellish dystopia, and actually just like normal people that have Pinterest accounts in the same way that you do. Is that what it is? Is that the actual psyop? Like, what's the psyop? What's the goal here? You know what I mean? That's what I don't understand. Americans interact with urban Chinese who study in the US, and we're surprised they're the same people. Yeah, that's the funniest part about it, is that like the people that they're interacting with on Xiaohongshu, for the most part, are people that they literally did not interact with in college, but had every opportunity to do so. Because half of those people on Xiaohongshu, from what I understand, are already people that like went to American schools and then went back to China, you know? So you're not meeting anyone new that you, I mean, it's just that because it's a Chinese app, I think that people are probably more, I think because it's a Chinese app, and the app is literally in Mandarin, it was not created for a Western audience, that it quite literally is designed to, you know, for Chinese people to be more free about their perspective. Because as far as like talking to Chinese people living in the Western world, and this is something that like my Chinese chatters will probably also will openly admit here, okay, is that many Chinese people are a little afraid of, you know, expressing any sort of pro-China sentiment in the West. I wonder why that is the case. Like, I remember talking to Water, Jake's girlfriend, for the first time about like my actual, you know, my honest opinions on China, and she was legitimately shocked. She thought I was like messing with her. She thought I was joking. She was, and I was like, no, I'm not joking. Like, this is what I truly believe. And she's like, I've never heard, she was literally like, I've never heard an American say that, because most Americans have like an insane number of like crazy opinions, or, and this is, I think, the most, I will say this, the most charitable interpretation is this, okay? We have the capacity in the United States of America to look at other countries that do the exact same thing that we do, but then somehow treat it as though it's like this super secret, super nefarious, super evil thing. It's the dynamic that I have. It's the dynamic that I've mentioned before. It's the dynamic between gulags and work camps versus slave labor in prisons in the United States of America. People criticize slave labor in prison in the United States of America, but many people understand it. Many people think it's good. Many people actually defend that principle. Whereas like gulags are work camps where, you know, 10 billion people are dying every day in the salt mines. It's the same thing. You just gave it a different name in order to say like it's scary when our foreign adversaries are doing it. If you have a criticism for it here, then you should have a criticism for it there. But many people don't have a criticism for it here and actually think it's like an entirely different thing over there. That is my frustration for the most part, because there are valid criticisms that you can launch against China, and I do in many instances, but I always take the position that this is still like normal state stuff, right? Normal states, like big states, this is how they operate. And then people will turn around and say, you're clueless. I know. I'm so clueless. I know. How could I ever? Instead of saying that, you know, every state has shortcomings, including but not limited to China, okay, I should instead just lap up like insane things. China's not a good country. America has issues, but that does not make China's human rights abuses any better. There is no point where I said China's human rights abuses are any better. See, this is what I mean. You're missing the point that I'm making here. The point that I'm making here is that I criticize America all the time. I have no motion in actually changing things here. And I criticize the administrative state of the Chinese government as well. But the difference is a lot of Americans, a lot of people in the Western world in general, genuinely I think that, you know, it's just like so much worse over there. It's so much scarier over there. My job is to try to explain to you that, like, no, there are issues in China. Of course there are. Every single state has a litany of complications, a litany of issues. And that it is not all that different from the issues that we foresee and we experience here. And in some instances, not as bad even, right? That's the difference. I think one of the greatest examples that I can deliver to you in this duality that we talk about, one of the greatest examples I can point to is the fact that if Israel operated in the brutal surveillance state mechanisms with re-education camps that were set up for what the Chinese government perceived as the separatist movement of like radicalized Muslims in Xinjiang, if they had done that in Israel, I would still be critical of what Israel is doing, just as I was of what China was doing, but the entire global the entire Western world would declare Israel to be the most peaceful nation on the planet and would be falling over themselves to offer Benjamin Netanyahu or whoever implemented that as many Nobel Peace Prizes as they physically possibly can. Why'd you ban that guy who said you're clueless? Do you understand what I mean? I unbanned him. I don't know why you banned him, Anaphase. Do you get what I'm saying? Like, think about it. Think about what Israel's been doing in Gaza right now. Although the surveillance mechanisms that were implemented and the re-education camps and all this stuff was like completely unacceptable in Xinjiang, okay? If Israel operated in the way that the Chinese government operated against like what they called the separatist Uyghurs, okay, that were radicalized or whatever, if Israel operated that way against the Palestinian population in Gaza with the interest of you know, still full-blown integration, everyone in the world would be literally cherishing Israel as the greatest country on the planet. Do you understand? This right here is perhaps one of the best examples of this this double standard, this hypocrisy. What's on, brother? Why can't Vietnam make such a great social media app if China can do it? We never talk about how Vietnam is one of the technologically advanced Southeast Asia, bro, right? Yeah, I love Vietnam. Most countries dislike Israel. What are you on? Yeah, we're not talking about the global south, big dog. We're talking about countries in the Western world that still dominate the planet, okay? Whether we like it or not, whether we want to, you know, there is, whether you like it or not, whether I like it or not, doesn't change that reality that like the Western world still dominates the globe. Okay? Anyway, this guy said you're clueless and then nothing else, which is sad. And then when mods ban these guys, which is understandable because they're derailers, they will turn around and be like, oh, your mods are so censorious. I get it, but how can you be so sure that the Uyghur Muslims are really treated better than the Palestinians? Wait, what? I'm sorry. Have you seen what's going on in Gaza? Is this bait? Like, what are you talking about? What? The connotation is that China is much more secretive? Yeah, that's ridiculous. Like, you think China was doing a bombing campaign in Xinjiang where they dropped multiple nukes worth of munitions into Xinjiang with the express purpose of like destroying every building while they simultaneously trapped the entire captive population of Xinjiang? No, you know what they did? They built high-speed rail into Xinjiang and worked specifically for integration. And to be fair, that process was incredibly brutal, and it still continues to a certain degree. Like, the surveillance state was unacceptable. The re-education camps were unacceptable. I don't disagree with that at all, especially because when the Chinese government decides to do something, okay? The Chinese government decides to do something, well, everyone's going to have to follow. That's it. That's just kind of the modus operandi, as best to the best of my ability of like explaining this to people. If they decide to do something, you just got to do it. That's it, right? And a lot of people, I think, in the process, a lot of innocent people in the process also get captured by this dragnet operation, which is like something that I, on principle, take issue with. But it's kind of, I was listening to this Chinese scholar talk about Mao and like what Mao did, right? Oh shit. I gotta get the door real quick. 1 second. Anyway, we'll talk about this in I'll continue talking about Mao in a moment, but in the process of building a dam, Mao was like, yeah, this entire city's gonna move. And they did. There's nothing you can do about it. But now that dam is the dam that gives water to Beijing from the north.
Upheld the law that could ban TikTok. The justices ruled the law does not violate the First Amendment. The popular video sharing app now faces a ban in the U.S. unless its Chinese parent company, ByteDance, sells to a U.S.-based company in the next 2 days. Let's bring in senior Washington reporter Devin Dwyer and ABC News legal contributor Brian Buckmeyer for more. Devin, does TikTok have any legal recourse left, or is this it? Sell or be banned?
Well, this is the final word on this law, Diane, and the Supreme Court just moments ago handed down a unanimous opinion that was not signed, meaning that it was supported by the entire court. We don't know who wrote it, but it does look like Chief Justice John Roberts saying that TikTok's argument that this law passed by large bipartisan majorities of Congress, signed by President Biden, does not violate the First Amendment rights of the company or its 170 million users here in the United States. The justices explain at length how a law like this one meets a significant government interest of protecting the United States national security for a number of concerns over Chinese collection of Americans' data and also their alleged use of the platform to spread propaganda in the United States. And therefore, by this decision, the Supreme Court effectively says that this law can stand and the ban against TikTok can go into effect on Sunday unless the parent company ByteDance, that's the Chinese-owned company, sells its stake to any other buyer that is not a foreign adversary of the United States. And there's, of course, a lot of swirling headlines about the Supreme Court definitively saying that this law can stand and a ban can go forward, Diane.
Brian, I know you're still reading through the decision, but what do you make so far of how the justices came to this decision?
So when it comes to First Amendment violations or the allegations of such, what the courts will do is look at what is being banned and how it is being banned. What they're describing is what's called a content-neutral ban, meaning that the government didn't go out and say, you know what, any information that talks about X or Y should be banned. That would have a higher level of scrutiny. What they're saying is this is actually not a direct ban. If anything, it's telling a company that they need to divest in.
Yeah. Cope. I personally think is so ridiculous. I think it's so ridiculous that they have the audacity to claim that this isn't like a ridiculous enforcement with the express purpose of taking TikTok away from its current owners. Like, it's just, it's not just a ban. It's not a ban. We just want them to divest and change the product entirely, or at least they can't retain ownership over it. I'm so confused. Is Hassan really saying the Chinese didn't treat the Uyghurs badly? Wait, what? Was there a point where I said that? Where did I say that? What happens to people's ears There's never been a single moment where I have said that. I just got here. Okay, where did you hear that? Can you clip any part of my commentary on this where you thought I said that? Where does this come from? Like, I genuinely don't understand. I feel like this is it's just such a strange phenomena that you have to deal with on a daily freaking basis, dude. I don't get it. Like, what's going on? How does this occur so frequently? I thought the person you were talking to about Palestine was talking about them in comparison. Yes, there is no comparison to be made between an act of genocide. Like, both are bad, but one is significantly better. And the reason why I gave the example of what Israel-Palestine is because if Israel was doing to the Palestinians what the Chinese government did to the Uyghur Muslims in Xinjiang, the entire Western world would be would be celebrating the humanity of the Israeli government, the morality of the Israeli government. While I consider both to be unacceptable, one is glaringly, obviously, significantly worse than the other, considering that every single structure is still standing in Xinjiang, including but not limited to like the Chinese government's surveillance apparatus exclusively working with dragnet operations are completely unacceptable, re-education camps, rather than like complete death and destruction of all people in the region with the express purpose of ethnic cleansing. It's an insane comparison to make. It's a totally and utterly insane comparison to make. Anyway, it's crazy because it's like people will look at like Hanifying mosques or whatever and consider it cultural genocide, which I understand. I think there's a decent argument to make that. Okay. Meanwhile, Israel's blowing up the mosque in its entirety. Like, obviously one is simply like if you have criticism for one and nothing to say about the other, as a matter of fact, you defend the other thing, then you are not like a morally consistent or a serious person at all. You just don't like China and you love Israel. That's it. While I still criticize the Chinese government, okay, it's ridiculous to make this comparison as though like what Israel's doing is somehow better or even in the same world, even in the same universe.
In order to be able to participate in their company within the United States, or they're completely gone. They're not selecting specific speech. And so when
a dragnet operation is when you go into an area, it's kind of like what the American government does in terms of like their immigrant apprehension programs, where they go into an area and they suspect people of like being political dissidents or being undocumented immigrants in the case of the United States of America, and they cast a wide net and basically drag everyone and prosecute every single person without previously conducting an investigation. It's the reversal of like the normal process where if someone is supposed to detain you, they're supposed to detain you after they've conducted an investigation, or at least have probable cause to detain you because they suspect you of doing a crime. It is, by my understanding, a violation of international humanitarian law anyway. And yes, the Chinese government absolutely did do that, for the record. I'm not like an Adrian Zen's defender or anything like that, but, you know, let's be real. Now, having said that, it is unimaginably hypocritical for any American to sit around and just be like, that's really messed up. Also, I support Israel. Like, it's just ridiculous. You know what I mean? Or I give a lot more permission to Israel to do whatever they're doing. But I do think that most of these people are not looking for some integrity or intellectual consistency. They're just simply looking for a way to move your attention away from the wrongdoings of America, because understandably a lot of people want to think that
doing that, the court is saying, one, this is technology that we're not too familiar with. We're rushing in some sense to get the answer out here. Two, this is content neutral, and it's not about the specific speech that's being made, but the manner in which this data is being collected. And as Devin pointed out, the security risks that are put forward here and that the government is worried about outweighs that of the risk of violating or potentially violating First Amendment rights. So it's well written out. I'm still kind of going through it, but that seems to be the consensus as to why we're here.
So because the ban is aimed more at...
There is nothing funnier about this than it has such a funny Western world flavor to it, where they just have to do this legalese, right? in an effort to make it seem as though there is like a valid reason. And this is not disruptive. And it's not like purely an insane move that the American government is engaging in that's like ultimately censorious, right? Xenophobic and censorious, because that's precisely what it is. It's xenophobic, it's anti-competition, it's censorious. It's all three. It's the triple Monty. It goes against like the principle of American enterprise. It goes against the principle of freedom of speech. That's what it is. But because we have to always behave in a way where like this is done within the confines of a legal structure, it's not pure autocratic control. It's actually done at the best. It's actually done within the legal structure. So it's actually totally permissible. The media and all of these like legal scholars have to play this song and dance of like trying to find some sort of legal reason for it that makes this appropriate. The reality of the matter is there are no backdoors into TikTok because it is at the end of the day a Chinese corporation. There are no ways in which the American government can control the flow of information on TikTok. Okay? But also on top of that, TikTok has an incredible algorithm that is better than all of the other algorithms combined. And the American tech CEOs are desperately interested in either undermining said algorithm, destroying it, or purchasing it so it becomes an American competitor. It is in the hands of an American CEO so that they can use this as a weapon to wield down the line. Okay, does the same go for Tencent? Never heard you talk about Tencent ever? No, I have talked about Tencent quite a bit. I've actually warned that the American government will probably go after Tencent in the same manner, you know? Why aren't you upset that China has blocked Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram? Because I'm not fucking Chinese. Hello? Because I'm not Chinese. Does it make you, does it strike you as odd? Do I look Chinese to you? I know I fucking pop off with the red sun in the sky when I sing it. So you must have thought I was Chinese. I'm American.
How's it feel? Not good, right?
This is another thing that I can't describe to people. For some reason, I'm like, dude, I'm an American citizen. I'm a tax-paying American citizen. Okay, I pay a fuckload in my taxes too. And I have a decent amount of motion, right? I have a decent amount of motion in this, in a community with like, you know, tens of thousands of like-minded people. And I can't even get the fucking Democratic Party to do the right thing to win a goddamn election. What makes you think I have any motion in China? I'm trying to fix my fucking backyard. And you're over here being like, but what about the Chinese government not allowing Facebook? Like, I don't know. That's not all right, dude. They should, okay? All right, what can I do about that? What can you do about that? Are you Chinese? It's so weird. Like, it's such a weird thing to just be like, well, it seems like the Chinese government is censorious. I know they are. And I disagree with that. Okay. I've openly talked about this many times. I think that China, considering that they are a global hegemonic superpower at this point, do not need to be as censorious. It's understandable if you're like a tiny island nation in the ass cheeks of the most violent superpower on the planet. It's understandable in that situation when that like most violent superpower is constantly waged war upon you, both economic war in the form of a massive embargo since your successful revolution. Okay, but like, yeah, if you're China, you have a lot more bandwidth for free speech. They don't do it. It's not up to me. I can't do anything about it. But ironically enough, I can't even do anything about the American government. And the irony is, you guys think the American government is democratic. You think the American government in our current structure actually cares about the majority opinion. It clearly does not. Because if it did, first of all, the abortion ban would have never taken place. If the American government or the American structures of governance actually cared in any way, shape, or form about the wishes of the majority, TikTok wouldn't be getting banned right now. None of it matters. We wouldn't be funding Israel's genocide. None of that matters. But when I'm, as an American political commentator, when I'm trying to describe this stuff to you, go, but what about China banning Facebook? Yeah, that's wrong. That's bad. That's messed up. They should also have their boomers get their brains warped by AI slop on Facebook. They should do that, okay? I agree with you, but what can I do? Am I Chinese? No, shut the fuck up. Meanwhile, Mark Dick Zuckerberg is running around the Joe Rogan Experience to be like, yeah, I hate trans people. I promise. We're not doing any fact checks no more. We hate fact checking. We hate fact checking. And it's like, okay, like, I don't even want my parents to be on Facebook. And you're like, no, the Chinese have to be on Facebook. Like, no one should be on Facebook. I'm over here trying to get you guys to literally implement Chinese Communist Party style restrictions on your parents' internet consumption so that their brains are not so goddamn warped. And they don't think that, like, Korean Jesus is saving dogs from a flood that took place because that's the only thing that shows on your Facebook timeline. Okay, and you're like, no, the Chinese must enjoy the Facebook AI slop. It's crazy. Half of your parents believe in chemtrails. Half of your parents became anti-vaxxers because of the lack of regulation and no regulatory standards whatsoever implemented on these platforms that just feed them full of goddamn slop. And you're over here being like, we need to fuck the Chinese brains in the same way.
Data collection and who owns the app versus what kind of speech is happening on it. It's not a First Amendment violation.
Correct. And when you talk about First Amendment, you often talk about how someone is being limited, what is being limited, and what means it's doing so. And it seems like the law here navigated those rules of First Amendment violations and the law in a way that the Supreme Court said that this is not about First Amendment, this is not a violation, and that there is an interest in which the government does have in protecting.
Yeah, like I said, the funniest aspect of this is that, like, people will be like, well, the Chinese government bans Facebook. Okay, that's wrong. But you understand that that's wrong. So is your argument that it's only wrong if China does it, but it's right when America does it? Like, what is the argument there? Do you think it's wrong or do you think it's right? Do you see what I'm saying? Because that's what it is. At the end of the day, it's precisely what it is. It's like they don't want such a successful social media company to be owned by a foreign adversary, a big foreign, scary foreign adversary. That's it, okay? That's it. That's it. They have no back doors. There's no way for them to control the flow of information. And the straw that broke the camel's back objectively was the ADL doing a final push because they showed how much teens were being radicalized about the Israel stuff, where there's this massive divergence between those who are under the age of 35 and those who are over the age of 35 at this point with respect to how they analyze the genocide of the Palestinians in the hands of Israel with our tax dollars. That was it. That was the straw that broke the camel's back. Donald Trump's administration wanted to ban TikTok. People have been wanting to ban TikTok for quite some time for the reasons that I mentioned. Okay, there are multiple different factors at play here. Other social media tech giants want to own TikTok, understand its algorithm, and want to basically not have that be competition, okay? That's why YouTube Shorts is popping off. That's why Instagram Reels is popping off. Like, they're trying to actively TikTokify their own social media platforms. But because they can't outcompete TikTok, they want to eliminate it. On the other hand, from the State Department interest, they're worried that, you know, TikTok is not controllable. There is no flow of information that they can control on that platform. So they don't like that kids are getting radicalized. Okay? Then they claim that it's because, like, oh, well, actually, they could just, like, have compromising data on people that inevitably become, like, you know, members of the security apparatus or senators or whatever, but they're actually using, you know, if they're on TikTok, then, like, the Chinese government can blackmail them down the line. And it's like, none of our data is actually private. They can just go to a data broker if they want to do that anyway. It's ridiculous. The irony, of course, is, and this is the reason why I don't think TikTok will be banned inevitably, is because it has too many American institutional investors that make money off of it, okay? That's why I think it's, like, ridiculous that these guys are even having this conversation at all. But yeah, I mean, this is it. I've played this before. We've heard the ADL private conversations before. But the notion that, like, 7 million small business owners have popped off of TikTok, you're just going to cast them all aside. And the billions of dollars in revenue generated off TikTok, you're just going to throw it aside because it's owned by the Chinese. It's owned by a certain percentage of it is owned by the Chinese government or ByteDance, which then still has to go back to the Chinese government and do whatever the Chinese government wants, is ridiculous.
why has the PR been so awful? I know that's not your area of expertise, but you have to have some thoughts on that, which is, I mean, as you said, why has Hamas disappeared in terms of public perception? An offer is on the table to have a ceasefire, and yet the world is screaming about Israel. It's like, why aren't they screaming about Hamas? Accept the ceasefire, bring home the hostages. It's said it's all the other way around.
Why won't they eat our propaganda as readily any longer? Why won't the kids believe our propaganda any longer? That's the name of the game here. That's what the actual point of contention is here. Okay? You don't get it. You might never will. TikTok sheds light on the horrors of the genocide that Israel is committing, and that is horrible. Facebook empowers genocide like how they did in Myanmar, and that's obviously good. Yeah, I don't get it.
I mean, typically the Israelis are good at PR. What's happened here? How have they and we been so ineffective at communicating the realities there and
are on an intravenous feed of information with new impulses, inputs every millisecond. And of course, the way this is played out on social media has dominated the narrative. And you have a social media ecosystem environment in which context, history, facts get lost, and the emotion, the impact.
They're not even talking about like context, history, and facts, by the way. They're just straightforwardly talking about like their version of events. That's it. They are only talking about their version of events. That's it. They want to only have one set of facts that are readily available for all. And that's what they want. They want to be able to consistently have a faucet of propaganda, and TikTok has its fair share of this as well, by the way, like right-wing propaganda, reactionary propaganda. The problem is it also has some left-wing propaganda. It is the only platform in the United States of America that has some semblance of parity within the ideological left and right spectrum. That's it. That's what they're afraid of, and that's what they're terrified of. That's what they do not like. The fact that, you know, leftist sentiment goes above 20% on TikTok as opposed to every other platform where it's basically completely dominated by right-wing narratives is what's so scary for a lot of people, because God forbid young people, you know, because of the way that like TikTok operates, because of the way that the TikTok algorithm operates, they don't care. It just doesn't matter what the ideology is. There's no markers on like what kind of ideological predisposition you have. If it's just like something is popular, something is readily consumable, people watch it and people blow it up, and that's it. That's it. So that is terrifying.
Impact of images dominates, and we can't discount that. But I think it also.
Reddit is pretty left too, though. Reddit is literally the most specific type of. Reddit is the most NatSec liberal website out there. It's worse than many other platforms in that respect. Reddit is not left, it's liberal, okay? It is very liberal, but it's also incredibly national security focused. Like, no matter what you try to do on IG or YouTube, you'll eventually find yourself back in a right-wing algo. Exactly. So much of the American-owned platforms, so much of the Western-owned platforms are just like far-right slanted. Reddit as well, for the record. Not far-right slanted, but Reddit is like basically a think tank